Natalia, how are you today? Ready?
Yes, as usual. Very excited to start the conference. So our webinar, yeah. So this is
Yeah.
the first time when I'm the first speaker. So very honored.
Was your way, I don't know if you were outside today, was the way easy or difficult? Because in Moscow it's like flooding, you know.
Yeah, so I'm happy enough to work from home today. How
Мне
about
тоже.
you?
Да.
Mhm. All right, fine. So, dear colleagues, please let us know if the sound is okay. Put a plus, and maybe you just type in the city or town you are logging in from.
So, you know, Moscow is here, Bryansk is here, Omsk is here.
The sound is perfect. All right. Thank you,
Perfect.
Galina
Great.
Nikolaevna. Right.
Yes, thank you, Galina Nikolaevna. It's perfect.
Mhm.
Moscow. Mhm.
You will have to mute. Okay. I suppose everyone is in a proper mood because today we are going to be pretty creative because we are discussing this issue of creativity in the classroom today. Okay. Still, we have a couple of minutes. People are joining us. I see some familiar names. Dear colleagues, would you please, if possible, rename you because we are just looking through the participants, and in order to gift you or grant you a certificate of participation, we need your name and surname in the chat. Not in the chat, in your profile.
Okay, just a moment.
And please keep your mics off.
Yeah. So if you have a nickname just or no name at all, please rename yourself here. I think you know how to rename because we need your real names and surnames to grant a certificate of participation. Okay, so it's 3 p.m. sharp, and it's time to start our conference, or not conference, just a webinar. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. My name is Evgeny Usachov, and I'm the head of the Postgraduate Studies Department in the Moscow International Academy. And it's my pleasure to introduce the next webinar in the series with Anara Company. So it's a joint project, Moscow International Academy and Anara Company, a teacher training program, which is called Current Trends in Teaching English. As you see, it's our third webinars in series. And today we'll be speaking about creative teaching. So today with me, Natalia Kolina, who is a senior methodologist in another company. So he's to start the talk today, right? The second talk will be mine. And then we have a foreign speaker. Natalia, will you say a few words about the foreign speaker?
Yeah, so we will have a representative of Publications, whose name is Greg Sotiropoulos. He is a teacher trainer for this publisher, and he is a very popular one in Europe, I would say. So hopefully, so he will gain more popularity in Russia as well.
Still gaining, yes, still gaining, yeah. Okay, so we have 3 speakers today. Each talk is 30 minutes long. You will have, so all the participants will get the recording. Actually, we placed the recording in our Google Disk. Again, please, if you haven't done it yet, please your real name. So turn to, or rename you as a real name, surname, because it's necessary to grant your certificate of participation today, right? And all the recordings will be placed on our Google Disk, and you'll get the link to that, as well as the previous recordings. So just a few words about our program. We have 2 options. The first option is free of charge participation. So you get ANARA's e-certificate, electronic certificate after each webinar. So as well, you'll get webinar presentations and materials. And at the end of the course, if you attend at least 5 webinars out of 7, you will be granted Moscow International Academy certificate. So it's free of charge option. If you are interested in getting a state recognized certificate on teacher training, 7 academic hours, and you are ready to do some practical tasks on the platform of the Moscow International Academy, so you may sign up to the paid option, which is 500 rubles for the whole program. And at the end of the program, you will be granted this повышение, удостоверение о повышении квалификации государственного образца, right? So we finish on the 31st of May, and you may sign up because you will get access to all the recordings and all the tasks on the platform. I'll provide more information on that at the end of our webinar today. And now it's my pleasure to give the floor to the first speaker, who is Natalia Kolina from ANARA Company.
Yes, thank you very much. So it's so good to say hello to everybody who is here. So there are a lot of familiar, unfortunately not faces, but still names. And I've spotted your comment in the chat box. So you asked if your name should be in English or in Russian. So it doesn't matter. So not nickname, please, but your full name. Okay, so thank you very much. All right.
Natalia, one more remark. Yeah, not in the chat, but you have to rename.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
yes, rename. And again, still one more remark. You will get your certificate, all the recordings. All the recordings and also the links to our presentations in the email, which will follow this webinar. So we will send you the email next week. You will get the link, and following the link, you will see your certificate, so the recording and the presentations, all right? Okay, so let me start then. And today we are going to speak about creativity. Oof, what a nice topic to be covered, right? So especially when it is not so nice weather outside, right? And many of us are exhausted, tired, maybe burnt out. So let's make our life a little bit more creative. And again, so remember, I've got only 30 minutes to talk about this amazing topic. So my main purpose is not to teach you how to be creative, but to give you, let's say, a proper direction or maybe a vector of your motion. Okay, so forward. All right, so let us start. And please mute yourself if you don't mind. Thank you. So creativity is known as one of 4 C's. I'm sure you remember that 4 C's are creativity, alongside critical thinking, collaboration, and communication. So, and we teach our students to be creative. We hope that they will be able to look at a problem from, let's say, multiple perspectives. They don't have to, and they don't want to. They don't want to do things the way these things have always been done. Our students are very, very creative, right? And our students can figure out a better way. And we as teachers can help them here. So for us teachers, creativity could be an interesting, I would say, journey Okay, so I like the word journey for today. And we might want so to think of ourselves as, let's say, explorers. And today, during my 30-minute, or I would say our 30-minute journey, we'll very briefly touch upon the following issues. All right. So, what is creativity? Can we all be creative? Why is creativity important in teaching? What are some key strategies to be or to teach more creatively, to be more creative? All right. Well, cannot just change the slide. Just a second. All right. So, of course, I cannot miss the opportunity to make my talk a little bit more interactive. And here comes my first question to all of you. What do you think is creativity? So, what is creativity? What a nice question on a Friday afternoon. So, please write your ideas in the chat box. Your ideas, your associations, maybe. So, what do you think creativity is? So, don't be shy. So, fire me out with your ideas in the chat box. What is creativity? Unconventional thinking. Thank you, Tamara. What else? There is no wrong answers. There's the way what you think, turning you and imaginative something, okay, thinking outside the box, possibility to generate new ideas, flexibility. So turning new and imaginative ideas into reality, Victoria. Thank you very much. So what else? Creativity is an alternative approach to common things. The one that makes life more fun and helps to learn. Thank you, Galina Nikolaevna. It's an ability to make up something new. Great. So it is a skill to switch off the mic so that there is no echo. Are you talking about me? Right? So means used to brighten up the process of teaching, making it more entertaining. Thank you very much. A lot of ideas. Thanks a million. All right. To be honest with you, the surveys show that there are more than 100 of definitions to your word creativity. Of course, we cannot cover all of them. All right. So, and to justify my words, here is a quote. Here is a quote of, let me see whose quote it is, of Sterling, who says that, give me a second, it is one of those entities that all understand implicitly, but that none can define to the satisfaction of everyone. You see, so it is quite hard to give a proper definition to the word, but I think, again, to be honest with you, that all your ideas are just wonderful, very, very creative. Okay, so having said that, let us accept that it is difficult to pin down the notion of creativity, right? And questions about here, is creativity a skill? And if it is a skill, then we can learn we can teach our students and we can learn ourselves how to be creative, right? Next question, is it another word for intelligence? Or maybe is it problem solving? Oh, sorry. So I'm playing with the chat, okay? So let us also accept that creativity means something different to different people. And you may see in our so very vivid chat box that it is really very different to all of you, okay? So I would like to show you one more definition of what creativity is. And this definition gathered sufficient consensus. And this definition is given by Robert Sternberg. Creativity is the ability to produce an idea or a product that is novel and has value. I think there are some remarks in the chat box from you that it should be novel and it should have some value. So you're absolutely right. Thank you very much. All right, let us try to answer my next question. Can we all be creative? What do you think? Can all of us be creative at a certain point, at a certain time? Yes, yes, totally. Plus. All right, so let us think about it a little bit more deeper. A lot of researchers show that creativity is the result of processes going on in ordinary thinking. And creativity is about wanting to be creative. If we make creativity a habit of mind, it follows that anyone can learn how to be creative. And in other words, it means that creativity is a skill to a certain extent, all right? It doesn't mean, though, that creative thought is a simple matter. No, not at all. So, and here we might remember the saying, no pain, no gain. All right, so sound pretty appropriate here. Then, speaking about creativity and motivation, I think it is quite obvious that they are interlinked. One must want to come up with solutions to a problem or seek new strategies or maybe conceive a new product or idea whatsoever, right? So creativity may also generate motivation in turn. You see, creativity may be driven by motivation and also generate it. And again, some research shows that when creative students are taught creatively and their creative abilities are really valued by a teacher, their academic performance improves. Creativity in knowledge. Of course, creativity is not another word for knowledge, but it is firmly rooted in it. For example, if task-relevant knowledge is missing, it is very, very unlikely that we can expect any insights or breakthroughs. Just we can think about the house and the foundation. We cannot build a house, we cannot create something without a proper foundation. So here is the same idea. Creativity is rooted in knowledge. And going back to the subject matter of this part of my presentation, I would like to ask you again, can we all be creative? And I guess now we can say that yes, 100% yes. Why is creativity important in teaching? What I want you to do now is to think about one of your classes, maybe a group of your students, maybe a particular group of your students. Think about them. So in the same group, you can most probably see different levels of ability, right? Your students are of different, we call these groups mixed ability groups, right? So this could be students of different intelligences at play, or different learning styles, or different degree of motivation and interest. They all are very, very different, right? Which is good. Okay, so they are different, that is good. So this is for sure. They are different, and we have to be very creative to help them. So to reach out to students, right? So if we are creative, it helps us to reach out to students. It helps us to engage our students and trigger their innate curiosity to learn. What more, it helps to nurture students' motivation and their desire to learn. If we are creative, of course, our students will be creative. We can help them to do that. This is for sure. All right? I would say that creativity is highly valued by students and teachers alike. All right? So I think you agree here as well. Recently, one of the universities, the students of one of the universities in Great Britain have been asked so to rank the top qualities or let's say top behaviors of effective teachers. All right. And here is my next question. What do you think these characteristics of effective teacher are? So please write in the chat box. What are the characteristics of an effective teacher? I will help you a little. A teacher is positive, a teacher is fair. What else? So please write in the chat box. Characteristics of an effective teacher. Love of their subject. True, absolutely. Friendly, creative. What else? You are all effective teachers, I am sure, right? So what kind of teachers are you? Or think about your colleagues. So friendly, creative, being approachable, optimistic, very good. Being approachable, I like it very much. Kalin Nikolaevna, thank you. Supportive, of course. Competent, enthusiastic, creative. Wow, yes. Inspiring, creative for sure. All right, thank you very much. So you're absolutely right here. And so I will tell you what are so these qualities that were given to the students. So to rank, they were when the teacher is positive, holding high expectations, fair, when the teacher can display a personal touch, compassionate, have a sense of humor, by the way, when the teacher has a sense of humor. So this is also very important to students, all right? So when the teacher respects students, when the teacher is forgiving and is able to admit mistakes. Of course, so you mentioned creativity, and actually students ranked creativity second. Can you imagine that? So they think it is very, very important. All right, so it shows that students want to be surprised. They want to understand content, want to engage in meaningful tasks. Or in other words, we can say, and I think we all know, they want to be taught by teachers who are original and innovative, okay? Unfortunately, when we think of motivation and enthusiasm in education, our concern is usually the students' motivation and enthusiasm, right? Okay, of course. So creativity is also important to make our lessons that are fun, effective, and memorable. So I think so. This is out of the question. All right. So speaking about the enthusiasm and motivation of a teacher, teachers' enthusiasm and motivation are ever more critical. Okay. The degree of involvement and enthusiasm that the teacher communicates to the students. Oops, yeah, okay. So the degree of involvement and enthusiasm that the teacher communicates to the students helps to engage them in the learning process. And here is so a kind of a scheme, yeah, showing, I will show you here. So this engagement often leads to better academic performance. So in other words, it leads to growth of students, all right? The growth in its turn will enhance the students' motivation and as a result, enhances teachers' motivation as well, all right? So creative teacher can help produce students' creativity, which can help them to show their academic growth, their academic performance. They are inspired by this growth, by this good performance. So they are very, very motivated. And being motivated, they inspire us teachers. So this is a kind of a cycle here. All right. Let us continue, move on. I would like you to watch a very, very short video. And my first question, do you know this gentleman? Any ideas who this gentleman is? Does his face seem familiar to you? So please write in the chat box. Looks creative. Okay, not yet. Nope. So not familiar. All right. This is John Hughes. He is John Smith. Actually, he is John, but he is John Hughes. Yeah, John Hughes. Thank you very much, Kalina. And Yelena, yes, he is John, but he is John Hughes. He is not only an author of very nice books like for National Geographic Learning, and not only, he is also an author for such publishers as Oxford University Press or, for example, Pavilion, and his books are amazing. He is also a teacher trainer and a very, very inspiring one. So I want you to show the video, so what he thinks about creativity, all right?
In a survey of some of the top creative thinkers, the real problem solvers in business in the United States, these people were asked the question in a survey, when and where do you have your most creative ideas? Where do you solve your problems? These were the top 3 answers. At number 1,
on vacation.
And number 2,
in the shower.
And number 3,
travelling to and from work.
At no point did anybody say I have my most creative ideas at work, which set me off thinking, what if we say to our students, our trainees, when do you have your most creative ideas? Would they say in the training room, in the classroom? Or would they say actually to and from class, or in the bath, or while I'm watching TV? In recent years in education, we've talked a lot about bringing all the higher order thinking into the classroom, and all the lower order thinking can happen at home. That's the flipped classroom approach. But are we sure? Maybe some of our students' best creative thinking actually happens while they're doing homework and not only when they're in the class. Worth thinking about. For more ideas about thinking about...
All right.
In a survey of some of the top creative thinkers...
we are not here to discuss his recent books, all right? But what I want you to spot here is his idea that we cannot be creative if anybody says, please be creative. So, and the same, we cannot expect our students to be creative, just telling them, so do something very, very creative. Sometimes, so we have to take time. We have to think it over. And our students also need this time, right? So maybe it's a better idea to give them some homework. So giving them some extra time for thinking and for creating something valuable, something very, very interesting, but of course valuable. So first of all right. So I'm going to crack on, all right? And so to discuss a few key strategies to teach more creatively. I think creativity, of course, can be developed, right? But it is not something that just happens out of the blue, as I've already told you. What is necessary is to use strategies, so and have a principled approach, all right? I'd like to show you just 4, I would say, surefire strategies, how to teach more creatively. Of course, so this is, let's say, my perspective, and so this is not the whole list, but I think so they are worth thinking about, they're worth considering. All right, the first is simplicity, and I like so this strategy very, very much. That's why I think I ranked it first. Okay, so simplicity, what I mean here, less is often more. Simplicity means that we learn how to rely on our own resources as teachers, right? Simplicity is about adopting a frugal, minimalist, ecological, learner-centered approach. And keeping things simple in the classroom implies that our teaching focuses on the learner rather than on the materials to be covered. Okay? The simplicity strategy can be spectacularly applied in activities that require little or no preparation time. And these activities can be designed to use the students as our primary resource. This is very important. So use our students as primary resource. What we teachers need to know is who our students are as people, what they like, and how they like to learn. So this is about simplicity. Combinational creativity. Margaret Bowden defines creativity as something that involves the generation of unfamiliar and interesting combinations of familiar things. Just think about it. A very nice definition, right? Combinational creativity. Combinational creativity is like, I would say, hitchhiking on someone else's idea. What I mean here is that we can take an exercise and provide variations so that to improve original idea. Supposedly you don't like the exercise from the book, so you may use it, you may use the original idea of the author, and so make it work in a different context. So if you know, we run a lot of different webinars for teachers on methodology. And recently, Galina Sharonova, who is senior methodologist at ANARA, presented her ideas in a wonderful webinar. The name is, as far as I remember, Marrying Tasks and Activities. This is about the combinational creativity as well. So you may watch it on our YouTube channel. Very, very interesting and useful. Okay, so back to combinational creativity here. And the main advantage is that you don't have to produce something original and innovative from scratch, right? So you just, as I already told, hitchhike on someone else's ideas. Then ability to play. An ability to play is the capacity to have serious, purposeful fun. A playful attitude is important in the classroom because it helps the teacher, let's say, diffuse the tension, right? And this or that type of tension is nearly always present in the classroom. A witty remark that is well timed can work wonders. A playful attitude is essential because it allows it allows us to pay heed to the child in us. And this child is always longing to be creative and to play. So still another strategy is risk taking. All right, risk taking is about getting out of one's comfort zone. Yeah, that's difficult. Taking risks makes us uncomfortable, nervous, and this comes from fear of being wrong. Risk taking in the classroom is about assessing the situation, daring to try different approaches, and entering discomfort zone. Yeah. And if you are not prepared to be wrong, you will never come up with anything truly original. So let us accept and admit that. Okay. Now that we outlined the strategies, it's time to show how they can be implemented in the classroom. Unfortunately, I am going to be a little bit behind the schedule, so let's crack on. It's worth mentioning that none of these strategies work in isolation. Yeah, so remember the 4 strategies. But I would say so they operate in synergy. And now we are going to see a few examples of activities you can try with your students. The first category addresses the environment we work in. The second is the way of using external resources, our texts from COSBOX, pictures, music, video, whatever. The third type is I would say our students, right? So the first type of activities center on our students, and they play here the main role. They are our primary resource here. All right, so as far as I have practically no time left, I will just show you a few examples, and I am sure that Evgeny will show you a little bit more about that. Okay, so these are some examples of how we can use creativity from external resources, right? Then we can use our students and resources as resources and classroom environment. So these examples are taken from one of the wonderful books. I will show the cover of this book a little bit later. But what I like about the book, it gives not only the, let's say, theoretical basis of what creativity is, but also gives some very, very nice examples. And so all the examples are very structured. First comes the name of the activity. Like here, you can see this is a creative writing task disguised as a reading comprehension. So sounds very intriguing, right? Then here you are prompted what type of material you need. For example, here you need a photocopy for everyone in your classroom, right? Then comes the exercise, the activity itself. And so also a very nice comment afterwards. So why you need this exercise and why you might want to use this exercise in the classroom, and how might it help you to make your classes interesting, engaging, and of course very, very useful. So here comes the book itself. So this is one of the books from a very nice series from Delta Publishing. The whole series is called Delta Teacher Development Series, and the book is called Being Creative. So as we are talking about creativity today, so here are some more examples of what books can be used here, right? So how you can let your students play with their smartphones, so to make the classes purposeful, and even how to use maybe computer games. So if you are a very, very adventurous teacher. Another series is helping languages, and the series is called the Resourceful Teacher series. Here you see just the names of the books are very, very inspiring, right? And the first book, for example, Teaching Grammar Creatively, the authors of this book are Herbert Puchta and Scott Thornberry, so who are very famous as educators. Creating Motivation is the same author as of the book I've just shown to you, Being Creative. All right, so yeah, Chaz, he's magnificent. Yes, Galina Nikolaevna, he is, you know, this author, he is magnificent. His ideas are just fantastic. Thank you for support. And here are our contacts. So please pay attention that we have now 2 Facebook pages. So National Geographic Learning is devoted to National Geographic Learning publisher, and Anara Books, this is another Facebook page to all other publishers that we deal with, right? And also we announce our events, webinars, conferences, so different types of events on our Instagram page as well. And you might want to go to our YouTube channel and to see the recordings of previous webinars given by different speakers and also by our senior methodologists as well. I think this is it. So thank you very much for joining me and listening to me and being so active in the chat box. I can't hear. Okay, so, all right. So
Thank you very much, Natalia. Thank you so much for your very good introduction to the concept of creative teaching. Right. I suppose you've given a nice background to my talk.
Evgeny.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So thank you very much, Natalia. Thank you very much, Anara. Okay, take a chance to visit the bookshop if you are close to Novokuznetsk underground station, because I suppose they are open 7 days a week from 9 to 9, and really approachable, right? Okay. So thank you very much, Natalia. Um, uh, so it's time to give me my talk. But before I start my talk again, dear participants, dear colleagues, we still have some of you which are logged with say iPhone or whatever, not your real names. And unfortunately, if you don't change, if you don't rename, we can't just grant you the certificate of Anara, right? Please rename with your real name. Most of you, I suppose, most of you have already done it, but still we have just Tatiana or my phone. So we can't actually understand who you are, okay? So as for my talk, just a second. First of all, I'd like to introduce myself again. My name is Evgeny Usachov, and I work for the Moscow International Academy. Actually, I'm the director of Postgraduate Studies Department. And in my talk today, I'll just develop Natalia's idea of creativity. And I'll just share my screen with you. Okay. And in my talk, I'll be talking about developing creativity in the classroom. I suppose it's crucial. It's really important, not just to provide our students with the idea of creativity, but to focus on some practical steps and solutions how to do it. Just a second. So, I'd like to start my talk with a quotation, sort of quotation, which says, creative people are really curious. They are flexible, persistent, independent, with tremendous spirit of adventure and a love of play, right? I suppose we are teachers. We are in our nature really creative, because all these words which characterize ours are about teachers, I would say. And one more quotation, which I'd like to share with you. Creativity is experimenting, growing, taking risks, breaking rules, making mistakes, and having fun. So, and again, if we deliver the spirit of creativity to our students and give them some sort of support, we can develop their skills, which they might not only start developing, but developing themselves as independent learners. I suppose, two very important quotes I'd like, or just mention. So, just a second. First of all, I'd like to emphasize the value of creativity. Creativity is about wanting to be creative. It's not just enough to have an idea. So we as teachers need to want to be creative. It's essential statement. And the second very important concept, I believe, creativity is about, or is a decision that someone or everyone makes, right? It's a decision. It's not enough just to think of the creativity as a concept. Again, if we want to be creative, we have to make a decision to be creative. There are a few simple ways which may dramatically boost our creativity. You can see them on this slide. I can just touch upon each of these point. Yeah. So first of all, we need to collaborate and learn from others. It's very important. Actually, it's what's happening right now in our webinar. We do need to do something we enjoy, right? And I suppose teaching is our passion, and I believe most of you enjoy what you do. Then we need to find inspiration from other industries. So that's why we should be really inquisitive in this regard, and maybe find some inspirational ways, or maybe some things which inspire others. Okay. Of course, we need rest and relax. I believe it's very important. John Hughes mentioned the situations in which he is the most creative. Yes, and most creative ideas come when we relax or have a rest, or we're taking a walk. So sometimes we need to change our mood to be more creative, or use some so-called six thinking hats technique, right? Like just wearing different hats just to boost creativity. Of course, it's essential to ask for advice and feedback. And sometimes it works if we think about a truly terrible idea we can do in the classroom, but it turns out it works pretty well. At the same time, I can't say there is a danger to creativity, but there are a few trends which may hinder our desire when we want to create a creative atmosphere in the classroom. First of all, class size may be a sort of barrier. Dependence on mass-produced course books, when sometimes there is not so much place left for creativity, or emphasis on exams and exam-focused teaching, which is quite formal teaching. We have to come along with these rules and procedures. Big data and computer-generated learning pathways, at times that may be not so creative, and it's our, I suppose, responsibility to turn them into something creative. And English as employability skill rather than quality of life enhancement may be also seen as a sort of worrying trend. And of course, sometimes overdependence on technology, but these days we live with technology and teach with technology. That's why we can find some creative ways how to deal with technology. So any ideas or a question to you? How do you promote and encourage creativity in your classrooms? Would you just type in some ideas which you have regarding this promotion? So is the commonplace in your classroom and your teaching, or is it just a rare thing? Or you may just share your ideas or which you have related to promotion and encouragement of creativity. Okay, I'll just look at the chat. Get creative tasks. Yes, Galina Nikolaevna, yeah, I can't agree more. Myself, yes, teachers. It's firstly it's teachers' responsibility. Okay, any more thoughts on that? All right, actually, it's my role today just to encourage you to use creativity in the classroom. So I'll share some slides with you from I would say famous, well-known methodologists, which provided some ideas and some practical activities how to create creativity in your classrooms. Starting very simple activities, just performing dialogues and characters, we call role plays. For instance, imagine the situation in a dialogue which A is a salesman in a shoe shop and B is the customer, but A is told that he is an ex-husband of B and hasn't seen her since the divorce. Of course, it's mostly maybe for teens, right, and for young adults or adults activity, but still it adds some flavor to a typical dialogue, right? Or in other situation, again in a dialogue in which A asks B how to operate her new office computer, and B is told that he is in love with A, but she doesn't know this. Okay, again, it may develop the conversation and add creative ideas to that. It's taken from Brian Tomlinson. The second activity offered by David Heathfield is called Telling Lies. Right? In this activity, we can let students know that we are going to tell a short, true personal story, but one detail will be a lie. So we'll tell the story about something that happened since we last met. students, yeah, and they do their best, we do their best, sorry, to hide the lie among the true details. And after listening to our students in pairs guess the lie, should guess the line. And then students find out guesses without letting them know if they are right or wrong. And when all the guesses have been made, we reveal the lie. And after that, students in groups of 3 take in turns to tell their recent story, while the other two listen and afterwards guess the lie. Another interesting activity, which is called Being an Object, provided by Judith Feather, is the following. We need to ask the students to choose an object that they have and give a student a sticky note or a card and ask them to write the object they have chosen on their sticky note or card and wear it. And we also explain them that they are to become the object on their sticky note. So they become their own plate, fork, school bag, etc. Right? It's sort of performance, and we give them a minute to imagine what it might feel like to be that, what it might feel like to be, I don't know, to be your school bag or whatever. And then we may ask students to imagine that this is a party of their chosen objects, and they mingle, meet, and chat as these objects. Another activity which I also find creative, it's by Marjorie Rosenberg. I think you know her name. She's famous as a business English teacher. And what she offers is the following. In this activity, we need to put learners into small groups and give each group a set of 8 to 10 pictures. And we instruct the learners to spread the pictures in front of them so that everyone can see them. And we tell them that they're going to hear a piece of music. And based on what they hear, feel, or see, they are to create a story of their own. Then we play this piece of music for the learners, and while listening, they can either begin to put the pictures into order, and we give them enough time to finish the story, and then we ask each group to tell the story to the others. Okay, and one more exercise or activity which I've taken from Peter Lutzker. So it's called Objects in Fire. For instance, students are supposed to write a personal possession or object they would most want to save in their, in case there was a fire in their house. So they need to describe it precisely and explain to their reader why this object is so important to you. It's kind of writing skills development, creative writing skills development. Even as you see, even such, or I would say such simple activities may help them to develop creativity. So the other activities I actually taken and I'm practicing in my classroom from the book which Natalia mentioned, Being Creative by Delta Publishing. So, and I think we'll practice a couple of them all together. First of all, it's called How Are You Feeling? Just look at the chat. Okay, thank you for your comments in the chat. So you need to take a minute to check how you're feeling, right? We can do it now, but as we have our mics off, we are not supposed to create any sound, but still, you can imagine then. Create a sound and a gesture that expresses how you feel right now. So no matter, maybe you are absolutely fine or you're a bit worried or stressed out, okay? And then you get into pairs and share your sound and gesture. So, and your partner should guess how you feel, right? As a follow-up activity, it may be creating a sound of movements in response to the words satisfied, happy, frustrated, exhausted, thrilled, bored, or sleepy, okay? So the activity which I'd like us to practice right now all together, and I'm going to place you in the breakout rooms with say 4 or 5 colleagues, And what you need to do, you need to think of the best 15 minutes maybe you had today or maybe yesterday. You need to think of the following questions. Who you were with, what time it was, maybe some smells or the sounds or the voices around you. What exactly was so special about these 15 minutes? Did something unique happen? And you can think of the following as well. What would you have made the experience even better? And then you share experience with the partner. So this is the task. I'm going to put you in small breakout rooms, and you will have just between 5 and 7 minutes to look back at your day and remember the best 15 minutes in your day today and share it with your colleagues. Okay? So I suppose I'll split you into 10 rooms. Okay? And there will be about, maybe create, let it be just, yes, 20 rooms. 20 rooms. There will be 4 or 5 participants in each room, and you will have 5 minutes, first of all, to think of your of your 15 minutes, best 15 minutes of the day, and share it with your colleagues. Okay? You can get to the rooms. Rooms are open. So you can get to this breakout rooms and then share your experiences with your partners, with your colleagues, I would say. So if some of you are still here and haven't entered any room, because I see some of you haven't. We might have a talk in this room. So if you have an opportunity to share, put on your mic and video and say a few words about your best 15 minutes of the day, we would be pleased. We will be more than happy if you are in the main room. Okay. Natalia, would you mind telling us about your best 15 minutes if you hear me?
Oh, sorry. So I was wondering if there's the third speaker. So I'm trying to reach.
Oh, okay,
to reach
okay.
him.
No,
Yeah,
okay.
sorry.
Ah, Greg. Okay.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Greg.
Hello,
Can
hello.
you tell us a little bit about your best 15 minutes of today? Best 15 minutes.
I'm sorry, my best 15 minutes.
Yes, it's just the activity. Think of the best 15 minutes of the day today. When it was, what you felt, maybe what you smelled, what was the situation?
The best 15 minutes of the day, I have to say, was not having any pain with my broken arm, with my broken hand.
Oh, I see.
So that was the best 15 minutes of my day, was not having any pain and being able to relax.
I see. Yeah. Sorry for your broken hand. Sorry. Yeah. Okay.
We move on.
All right.
It's just a hand.
Natalia, can you recollect your best 15 minutes of today?
Actually, I can remember only my worst 15 minutes because yeah, it's rather warm outside. So the snow keeps falling from the roof. So and it makes terrific noise. And I was just shocked because I couldn't understand what's going on. So I thought that my balcony has just ruined.
Mhm,
Yeah, I was scared.
mhm,
And it was exactly, I think it took exactly 15 minutes, and then
mm,
so it stopped.
mhm. Okay, okay.
How about you, Evgeny?
So my best 15 minutes, I was finishing up my presentation, and I have to put some creative ideas into that. I suppose they were the best 15 minutes of the day, right? And I'm experiencing best minutes right now. Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Galina, would you like to share your best 15 minutes if you can?
Yes, sure. My best 15 minutes today were in the morning when I woke up and I made breakfast. Then I also made a cup of coffee. That was really nice because for me, mornings are very important. Like the way we start the day will definitely affect the whole day. So that was a very good beginning, and I was really enjoying every minute.
Okay, thank you. I suppose it's time to have our participants back. They will have just 60 minutes to finish up, right? But I suppose they exchange some ideas of their best 15 minutes they had today or maybe yesterday. Okay, and then they are getting back. Let's just wait a little bit. Yeah, when they are all back in the main room. Okay. Okay. Right. Dear colleagues, if you can, you can just say a few words still when we have the others coming back. What were your best minutes? Victoria, what were your best minutes of the day? Can you share?
Well, maybe it was yesterday when I walked around our playground next to our house, and I filmed a very video
Yeah.
about snow mountains.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much. We'll move on. Please have your mics off because we have about I have 5 minutes left. Yes, and I'd like to share with you some other activities. Okay. All right. Let's move on. So the next activity is called instrumental music. We're not supposed to do it right now because we are short of time, but still you can practice it with your students. So you need to find a proper piece of music, right? Something like this. I'll just play it as a background when I'm talking about this activity. Something like that. Can you hear the sound? Okay. Just a second. So the music might be like this, all right? And just a moment. And I'll just find my presentation, just a second. And the idea is you may just type in the chat what you feel, what you can see when you hear this music, things like that, okay? So it's also sort of creative in nature, and we can do activities like this. Okay, so this is called instrumental music. Yeah. So you need to write down anything that it works, not necessarily story. It may be shapes you see, objects, colors. So, and you can stop the music every 30 seconds. Yes, and when you say change, your students have to pass their sheets to a partner, and the partner keeps listening and writes something new. Okay, and then we can produce stories based on these ideas. Okay. So getting to the end of my presentation today, I'd like to finish it with the quotation that creativity needs to be inspired by inspiring leadership that nurtures and appreciates teachers who make the effort to be creative. Okay. The ideas were taken from these books. Yes, Natalia has already mentioned being creative. There is a nice book in the series from Helbing Publishing, which is called Imagine That. So actually, it's dedicated to mental imagery in the EFL classroom. English through drama, I suppose Natalia mentioned that as well. And the book in the series of Cambridge, which is called 15 Creative Activities. Okay. Some of the books you can have for free. For instance, this book, which was created by British Council, and it's called Creativity in the English Language Classroom. You can just scan the QR code or just follow the link here. I'll put the link in the chat a bit later, right? And I'd like to finish my talk with 29 ways to stay creative. Some of them were mentioned, for instance, by John Hughes, sing in the shower, yeah? Or listen to new music, for instance, or collaborate. Or I like some of them, take risks, yeah? Or clean your workplace, or have fun, right? Or the last one, finish something. If you don't have some things finished, finish them today, right? It gives you a nice feeling, a feeling of creativity. So if you have any questions, I would be more than happy to answer them in the chat, not to take just Greg's time. Okay. And I'd like to invite you to join our course. You are having the webinars free of charge, but if you want to do some activities, including creative activities, you can participate in our joint program, which is called Contemporary Trends in Teaching English, and you'll be granted a state-recognized certificate at the end, right? So here is the link. You can sign up right now. I'll put it in the chat. So, and you can get more information about that. Actually, the information here is on our website, i-mil.ru. You will have it. And here are our contacts, right? And if you are interested in the idea of creativity, you may contact me. Here are my contact details. And I regularly provide some webinars and participate in different conferences. But creativity is really what drives me, what gives me inspiration. And I try to pick up some ideas, creative ideas, and share with my students. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your participation. And I suppose you had a chance to share your best 15 minutes with your colleagues. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. So, and now it's my pleasure to give the floor to our next speaker. So, to Greg. Greg, can you hear me?
Yes, yes. Hello, hello.
Okay. So, Greg is our next speaker. Greg works for MMM Publications, right, Greg?
Yes.
Okay. And I suppose Greg will introduce his topic himself and give you also some insightful ideas how to be creative.
Thank you very, very much. Just give me a moment so we can change host. to allow screen sharing. Can you make me co-host so that I can share my screen? Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Just give me a moment, everyone. The trials and tribulations of working with one hand. That is not the hand that you use usually. So, okay. And let me just open up the chat box. All right, excellent. So, thank you very much for having me here today. As the theme is creativity, I quote from Albert Einstein that creativity is intelligence having fun. And it's all about having fun, right, everybody? Education, interactions with our students, forming a relationship with our students. That's what it's all about. And we've seen that throughout the years, creativity has been, I would have to say, a global skill that needs to be implemented into the classroom, and it needs to be part of our students' mindset in general for their future. I put the abstract a little bit in the first slide just to give you an idea of what we're going to be talking about. How can we make our class interesting through using creativity? I'll show you some examples from a course book called Pioneer, giving you a couple of practical tips on how to promote this creativity. But before I do that, I would like to ask you all a question. So can you please stretch out your fingers, go to the chat box, and I want you to please write down 3 words that describe yourself as an authentic teacher. What kind of teacher are you? We are all authentic in our own manner, unique in our own teaching methodologies, teaching techniques, our personalities, characters. So what 3 words would best describe you as a teacher? Could you write that down in the chat box, please? So we have curious, amusing, amused, fun, resourceful, tolerant. Ah, yes, tolerance, very, very important. Calm, patient, and kindness, something that is missing in humanity today, right? Clever, strict. Yes, we must be strict and firm at times, but yet sweet. I like that flip. I'm strict and I'm sweet, right? Creative, facilitating, cooperative, flamboyant. That always helps in class. Demanding, inspiring, patient, friendly, kind, enthusiastic, hardworking, fair, very, very important. Different, intelligent, fun, modern, persistent, qualified, open-minded, very important, motivating, strict, and humorous. So not many people, or I would have to say nobody wrote traditional. Great, happy, inspirational, caring, motivated, passionate, dedicated, curious, with a great sense of humor, supportive, someone writes, passionate, motivating, traditional, creative. Now, the key here, the underlying word is creative. For each and every teacher, we must focus on our creativity as an educationalist. It is very, very important now to do this. Yes, teaching online is very difficult, more difficult than teaching face-to-face. So our creative juices need to flow even more during these online lessons. So let's look at creativity, the process of creativity. You know, sometimes we fall into a trap, and it's called the Peter Pan principle. The Peter Pan principle, say that 3 times very fast as a tongue twister. It's when we forget what it was like to be a child, right? And so sometimes when we're teaching, we're being creative on a different level, on a level thinking as an adult. But sometimes if we lower that a little bit and start thinking on the level of our students, start connecting to their interests, their likes, and knowing their dislikes, if we can fine tune, calibrate our creativity to reach those interests, then you will see a huge change in your students' engagement. Okay. So this process starts by, as it says here, finding the child inside of us, making these things possible in class, removing the fear of judgment and limitation. How many of you feel, just a yes or a no is fine in the chat box. How many of you feel like you are sometimes limited in what you do, in how you do it in your classes? Have you ever felt limited in your teaching? I'm just curious to get some feedback on your experiences there in Russia. Yes, you have felt this limitation. Sure, right? And that was in caps, constantly. Okay, well, you have to imagine yourself, right, on the level of the student sometimes. And then in this imaging of what you're doing, right, you begin to create, you make, you do what your image looks like. Someone just wrote, and I'm very happy for you, my school allows me to do anything I want. You have free reign, free creativity to do whatever you want. That is very rare. That is very special. That is to be taken full advantage of, I would say, right? With Chinese students who do not sometimes understand rules of punctuation, I started working as a freelancer to avoid being limited. Yes, I've seen that happen very often in other countries too. Now, let's discuss this for a moment, because this is key in what's going on here. We as an individual, as a teacher, have many ideas. We are full of creativity at times, but yet we have restrictions and limitations. So what are we going to do? How can we innovate, implement this creative process that is inside of us? What solutions can we come up with? What better ways can we come up with in implementing these creativity? Now, this means that we have to sometimes work together with those in our schools, in our institutions, in our universities, etc. Working together may help to break down the walls, to lessen the limitations that are put upon you in your teaching. In doing so, start to discuss certain ideas that will allow your students to feel, number one, more comfortable in using the language. Number two, in allowing their own creativity to flow in using the language, not focusing so much on the content of English, but the usage, right? Creativity is having fun. This is what we need to do. So the first idea would be role playing with your students. Now, when we role play with our students, we have to make sure that we give them enough time. Yes, time is something that when it comes to teaching, we are always under pressure with time. And so I would suggest that we become a little bit flexible with time. I'm sorry, just a parenthesis. If you can if everyone can close their mics, please. Thank you. That would be great, because I can hear something going on in the background. Thank you. So make sure that you give your students ample time to practice role playing, because in role playing, believe it or not, it's one of the top activities where creativity flourishes. And in doing so, I want to show you an example. In speaking, we have two students role playing, asking each other questions about something they can relate to. So student A, think of a dream. We've all dreamt at some point in our lives, right? So think of a dream you've recently had and describe it to the other student. Use the questions below as a guide and the phrases to emphasize and make your description more dramatic. So we give some lead-in questions. Now, this is what I would like you to do. As I incorporate all of your answers in the chat into the webinar, I would like you to please write down in the chat box, very briefly, if you had a dream last night. And if you did, very briefly, can you describe that dream? Okay, very briefly, what happened? If you want, tell me how it made you feel. Did you want the dream to end or not? You may answer any of these questions in the chat box. I am not going to be, strict, as someone wrote before. We are sometimes strict in answering the first question, the second question, the third question, whatever question you wish to answer. I myself did have a dream, and it was a scary dream. It was a dream where I was in my old house in New York, and I went up the steps to the attic of the house, right? The attic, the upper part of the house, the storage up on the top of the house. And as I opened up the attic door, I heard this gurgling inside. And so I was afraid. I went to close the door, and all of a sudden these furry animal-like hands came out, and I had to push the door closed and then lock it again. Yes, bizarre, never had it before. I don't know if it means that lockdown and coronavirus has been just enough for me that I need to get out a little bit, but this is the dream I had. Someone writes, yes, I did have a dream. Very personal experience to describe, sorry. No worries, that is enough said, right? You are communicating, you are expressing, right, yourself to me, to us, as to why you don't want to discuss it. It was an absolutely weird dream. My sister-in-law, who's 52, being pregnant for the first time in her life. 52, pregnant for the first time in her life. If this is true, congratulations. If it's not, it is a weird dream, right? At 52, right? She'll be in the Guinness Book of World Records, I believe. But yes, that is kind of weird. In my dream, I participated in a webinar, right? So what you're doing is, in role playing, right? Does it mean that it has to be real? Can you make it up? Can you get creative in answering these questions? Absolutely yes. So in answering these questions, we want to give the students some reinforcement, positive reinforcement, self-assurance, motivation, inner confidence, by giving them some tips of what they can say. I was pretty, totally, completely. You won't believe what happened next. The next thing I knew, I'm serious, right? I was sightseeing with a group of other tourists. I had a dream. There was a door which I opened and landed on Mars. Probably the news inspired the dream, or you were watching too much of Supergirl. I don't know. I had a hideous dream. I was swimming in a filthy river, and there's a gigantic crocodile. Interesting. Okay. In my dream, I heard the sound of the ocean, but couldn't see it. I was trying very hard to come closer, but failed. So this is a role-playing exercise that allows your students to use the language, get creative, and move forward in their connection, their interaction with their friends. Okay. The next one, excuse me, interactive writing. Now, as you can see, there's a link between these activities that I'm showing you, and that is that in creativity, as I mentioned with you guys for teachers, it's better to brainstorm creativity with others. You never know what can come out of brainstorming. So this is what we're doing here, right? We are having students work together. So in interactive writing, and this is one of my favorite, I love writing. I love the fact that, and don't get me wrong, there's two types of writing, right? There's writing with the process of writing, and then there are the mechanics of writing. The mechanics of writing stress students out to make sure that it's structured, that the grammar is correct, that the vocabulary is correct, spelling is correct, commas, question marks, colons, semicolons, etc. Right? If we start though with the process, the idea, the creative idea, what is it about? Get everything out on paper. Just whatever your brain and your heart is thinking, because let's not forget, education of the mind without education of the heart is no education at all. Aristotle said it best, right? So it's getting all that information and emotion out on paper. In doing so, we are giving students more opportunities, right, to interact with the language. Negotiation of meaning, right? So that students, when they interact with their writing pieces, they share their writing pieces, they get to help each other out, quote unquote, negotiate on the meaning of what each one is saying. It boosts achievement. Don't we need this, guys? Don't we need to boost their self-esteem, right? In doing so, we need students not to do writing pieces on their own and to be creative on their own, but yet to work with each other. It lowers anxiety and fosters self-confidence. More accurate and complex texts that students will be able to understand. And again, here we go, tying it into having fun. How many of you, when you were a student, excuse me, had fun with activities on your own? It doesn't make sense. Rarely do I have fun playing something on my own. Interactive games, games online. You can play by yourself and achieve other levels, but when you play a game interactively, virtually with other people, it changes the whole concept, right? So here is a lesson on writing that we need to analyze on how we can have it become interactive. So we always need to warm up our students with writing, always, by giving them discussion questions. So here we go. It's a writing piece, but yet we are using the collaborative approach, the communicative approach for them to discuss, right? If you were an athlete, would you like to be a professional athlete, right? Why? Why not? It's something that students can talk about, right? It is something that I would say 90% of students would be interested in. So then from this warm up, we take them to noticing the language use, right? In which ways will they use the language? We give them a model piece of the writing. We want them to take this model piece and to discuss it with their colleague, their peer, their friend in class. The register phase, where we're going to have them look at the highlighted words, phrases in the essay, talk about it with their partner, right? And use them to complete the tables below. Now, be very careful with this, because in becoming creative, you have to be creative in how you pair up your students, right? Differentiated learning, be very careful with that. And always change up the pairs. The layout, giving the students an example of a layout, a plan, and tips on how they can do this. You know, students, sometimes they have their creativity slumber. They're in sleep mode, right? It's dormant, and it needs a little awakening. In doing that, This is why we give them the tips, for them to have that aha moment in your teaching. Some other ideas that students could work in pairs, as I said, correct each other's work. Why not? You don't need to correct their work. Let them do it before giving it back to you. It's a great way for them to be autonomous learners and autonomous teachers at the same time. Writing in pairs and groups is also highly motivating. Collaborative writing. Do it, try it. You have nothing to lose, everything to gain. Oh, flipped classrooms. Now, this is a hot topic. Use it. Is it difficult? Not necessarily. Start small. Okay. What is a flipped classroom? What is flipped learning? It's basically taking a step back, right? And allowing, instead of having the learning process happen in a group, classroom lecture type lesson, to remove that and have the individual do it in the comfort of their home. And when they do it in the comfort of their home, then they can collaborate with others and then report back and interact with the class, showing what they have come up with. Visually, this is how it looks. A traditional way is where you give a lecture and then you give them homework. But the flipped is you give just food for thought. You plant the seeds and have the students work in classroom activities. As the presenter before me did, where he put you into breakout rooms, right? Discussing about the 15 minutes of what you did today that is most memorable, right? Most creative, the one that you liked the most so far. That's it. You know, he planted the seed and you went with it. And then he brought you back to report back. Same thing, same concept. Now, here's an easy way to do it. We have a reading activity. Now, what we would do is we would have the warm up, the discussion questions, right? And yes, I will talk about that in a moment, because teenagers are tricky, right? That age group is quite tricky to engage, right? I'll talk about that in a moment. Some tips about the teenagers. So when you give a reading activity such as this, right? You don't want to talk too much about this. You want to give this to them to look at and then to talk about in pairs or in groups, and then to report back to class the next day. In doing so, and I'll talk about this right now, Galina, teenagers are too lazy. They don't want to do any homework at all. And that word is why they don't want to do it. Is it homework? Yes, it's something that they have to do. It's work that they have to do at home. But is it homework? No, I wouldn't call it homework. Okay, I like to call things like this project work, because when it becomes a project, in projects, as we know, in businesses, when a group of people work on a project, they all have a responsibility towards making that project successful. So here, what we're doing is we are dividing the success among the students, telling them that one person cannot do all the work. You all have to participate in reporting back about this activity. In doing that, the students, when they go back home, right, they have to find it amongst themselves to be accountable for their part. Is it easy? No. Does it work? Yes. Does it work with all your students? No, unfortunately not. But you will see that little by little, students will start doing it. They will start being a little bit more engaged. Project work is also something that scares them. Now you're using another good word, scares. So why don't you just have an open discussion with them? It's about interactions, right? How can we get creative on how to implement flipped classroom? Tell them, why are you guys scared about doing homework? Why are you scared about doing projects? What is it that bothers you about this? They're going to look at you and say, what? You want my opinion? But of course, For me to know how you're feeling will help me to make things a little bit easier for you. Easier for you. I use the words very carefully, right? Because then you want them to say, ah, okay, be honest with me. Tell me why. Okay, try this approach, all right, and see what happens. Mini lessons. Well, that's why. They're lazy because homework doesn't get them interested. That's why you have to talk to them. You have to have this conversation with them and see what is it that interests them, right? They're lazy. Why are they lazy? Teenagers are not lazy, guys. They have a lot of grit, a lot of hustle. Believe me, I know for a fact. The thing is how to get that out in them, right? It's difficult, it is. So mini lessons. Having mini lessons, when you have a speaking activity, again, as you see here, we're giving another lesson by showing them must-read books, popular books, right? That may, in fact, have them do, oh, okay, this is something that triggers an interest in me. I want to see what it's about. Break up the students and have them vote on which of these books would they like to read. In doing so, they work on this. It's called a teachable moment, right? You have to capitalize on teachable moments. These are those mini lessons. Time is precious in the classroom, but teachable moments, those are timeless. Okay, you have to capitalize on mini lessons. It's okay to go off track from your lesson plan if the students show interest. And once they show interest, as you have been writing in the chat box, that interest will show you that they are not as lazy as they seem. Okay. Curiously, they sometimes fail even to watch a feature film for a flipped class. What could be more interesting? What could be more interesting than a featured film? But what, okay, I'll give you an example. Netflix. Netflix brings up a lot of new films, right? And I'm always excited. I'm like, oh, look at this top 10. I have a daughter who's 12 and a son who's 7. So I have a preteen, right? Sometimes preteens are harder than teenagers. And so I say, Evelina, oh my God, do you want to see? And I'm thinking she's going to go crazy. She's going to love it. I go, do you want to see this new movie? It's #1. She looks at me. She goes, no. Oh, okay. And I forget to ask that simple question. Why? What is it about this that you don't want to see it? Right? So again, you're assuming that they fail even to watch a feature film. Who says that they want to see a feature film? Some of it, maybe they want to see an old classic. We don't know, right? What could be more interesting? Ask them, find out. All right. So we give them activities in Pioneer that has that interest come up. Excuse me. So when they see this layout, they say, oh man, crashed car accidents. Whew, I've been in one. Ooh, I saw one of these on YouTube. Ooh, I know somebody who's been in one. Let's see, what is it? According to gender in South Dakota, driving too fast, weather conditions, carelessness, inexperienced driver, damaged road. Oh man, look at all of these reasons why accidents happen. And then, okay, female drivers, sometimes they're more careless. Ooh, male drivers, sometimes they're more careless. So what do? Get creative. Split your class, boys and girls, and have them analyze this and discuss. Think outside the box, right? Background knowledge, guys, life experience. It's all about it. You want to pique their curiosity? Get the background knowledge on your students. Their life experiences. The more you know, the better off you're going to go in class, especially when it gets to being creative. Set high expectations. Man, teachers, teach students to comprehend and critique texts and ideas, include speaking and listening. Expect students to use and write language to communicate appropriately for an audience and purpose. Require evidence and sources. Create opportunities for your students to use tech, They are the wired generation. They want to use technology. Use it to your advantage. Give instructional plans that plot the teaching that transforms an assignment into learning. All right, guys. I'm just keeping an eye on my time. All right, I know I see it. Okay. And finally, invite a guest speaker. Yes, especially if you're talking about teenagers. Use your connections. If you have connections, use it. Get a guest speaker to come in. That it doesn't get more creative than that. If some of your students have a mother or father that does a really interesting job, ask them to talk about it, right? Chef, policeman, policewoman, et cetera, businessman. If you know a famous singer, famous DJ, a famous artist, someone in your family, someone in your network of friends, right? I personally on Facebook, I did a presentation and I asked, never met her before in person, but we're friends on Facebook for a couple of years. We just never had a chance to meet. I asked her, I said, can you pop into one of my webinars and say hello? Because I'm talking about engaging students. And she did. And everybody was very, very shocked. They couldn't believe it. Like, oh my God, how do you know her? And I go, well, I don't know her personally, but she did me this favor. Okay. So role-playing, interactive writing, a flipped classroom, mini lessons, going as far and the most difficult in inviting a guest speaker to talk about things. I think that what we need to do is be patient, think outside the box, be flexible, right? And know your students as best you can. That is the key to creativity in today's age. All right. So, is it an option? No, it's not. It is essential in everything we do in the profession that we are in. Thank you very, very much for your time, for your consideration, and I wish you all the best. You know, it's always a pleasure interacting with teachers all over the world and in Russia. You know, keep learning, keep sharing, keep inspiring your future global agents of change, your students. I know it's difficult, but it's not impossible. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you very much for your really inspiring talk. Yes, with lots and lots of examples of creative tasks. Yeah. Okay, and thank you for the comments from the participants. Right, I suppose it was a sort of quite right sort of engagement, right?
Thank you. Yes, it was very nice. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. And sorry about your hand.
Yeah. We all wish you the quickest recovery. Yeah.
Thank you. I can't do the full heart, but thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Okay. Okay, dear participants, we've come to the end of today's webinar. So first of all, on behalf of the organizers, from Natalia, me, so Greg, we all would like to express our gratitude to your involvement, to your participation today. Yeah, because we believe that creativity shouldn't be purely a theory, right? We need to engage. We need to engage our students to offer them creative tasks, right? Okay. A few words before I finish. First of all, those of you, I've made a few photos of the participant lists. Okay, list, right? If you still don't have your real name and surname, please do it right now. Okay, or just because it's important to grant you an ARAS certificate, right, Natalia, right? If we don't have the full name, so name and surname, we're actually unable to do it. Again, there is a link in the chat how to sign up in our joint program. So all the information is on the website of the Moscow International Academy. And no matter that you've missed a few webinars, you can still join the program, sign up for it, and so get the benefits of doing activities on the educational platform. So somebody asked me, I suppose Yuri asked me about the type of activities you're supposed to do to get удостоверение, not certificate. Yeah, mostly they are writing assignments. They are writing assignments of three types, either a lesson plan or just observing someone's class and giving a feedback. So these types of activities, they are mostly writing assignments. So, and getting back to the future webinar. So our next future webinar is supposed to be on the 19th of March, right? And it will be dedicated to teamwork and collaboration. I think it's a nice development of the concept of creating teaching. Yes, teamwork and collaboration in the classroom. So it's the 19th of March, the same time from 3 to 4:30 Moscow time. Okay. And again, you will get the link. You are supposed you'll get some information. As Natalia mentioned, the materials, so the presentations of today's webinar and the recording will be sent to you. Okay. And you may, if you didn't manage to participate during the whole webinar, you will have a chance to do it, right? And after that, we will have 2 other webinars. So in April, project work, and in May, the webinar dedicated to teacher development in summer. Okay, Natalia, do you have anything to add?
First of all, thank you, everybody. Thank you very much for being with us, and for those of you who keep visiting our webinars over and over again. All right, and once again, so you will be given the link to your certificate, to the recording of the webinar, and to the presentations. So we are not going to attach anything to the email, but you will get the link where you can get everything yourselves. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Natalia. Okay, thank you very much. And for those of you who haven't had the best 15 minutes of the day yet, I hope you will have them in the hours to come. Yes, have a nice day, have a nice evening, right? And enjoy creativity. Yes. So we'll see you on next webinar.
Yeah, see you next
And
time.
for all women, I'd like to congratulate you on the coming spring holiday, All Women's Day. So be nice, be beautiful, be creative, be charming, right? So I suppose all men will join me, will join my wish today. Okay. See you in March.
Thank you so much.
Thank
You're
you,
welcome,
everybody.
always welcome.
See you.
Goodbye.